my 3-year ban, community service and unpaid work. Yeah. But that was for basically the police at the side of the road refused to accept that I was a medical cannabis user. They targeted me based off a YouTube video that I'd done. And then, obviously, a call had been put in, pull me. I've got out and said, look, I'm a medical cannabis user, there's my prescription, there's a letter from the clinic. I've got the phone number of the director if you want to speak to him. I was like, and they were like, Michael, we just need that swab. I was like, well, in 2018, when I provided this evidence to you, when I was also classed as a medical cannabis user and I presented the evidence, I give a swab, I said, and I got 12-month disqualification. When I went to court, the judge said the only reason that I got that 12-month disqualification was because I fell through the cracks in the system. By giving a swab, I was entering into a contract with the Crown. This time when I went to court, the judge was like, oh, we can't find any record of the judge saying that. I had the BBC sat in there for the trial so they could see like the inaccuracies and the idiocies of what was going on through the trial. Prosecution was hell-bent on trying to get a drugs conviction. The police doctor had signed off and said that I wasn't under the influence and that I was fit to drive my vehicle. So why did I get a 3-year ban? Do you know what I mean? I got the 3-year ban for refusing to give a swab up the side of the road. The reason I refused to give the swab was because a judge in that very court told me in 2018 not to give a swab, because if I did give a swab, I would enter into the contract and I would have to act within them grounds and obviously give me the ban or the disqualification.
Yeah.
So I picked up the 3-year ban, but that judge indicated that it wasn't a serious offence. You could see how stupid it was, basically, and that it wasn't a jailable offence. So there would be some element of a community order because it was my second offence within 4 years or 5 years or something. And basically, she was going to err on that side. It got adjourned for sentencing. I then go back for sentencing and a different judge is residing. She looks at it on paper and she's like, oh, I'm jailing him. My solicitor was like, the previous judge said that it wasn't a jailable offence. No, like Michael's case, he's fully registered, he's fully legal, he was fully compliant, he wasn't under influence when he was driving. So she went, well, I'm not dealing with this then, send it back to the other judge. So I got adjourned again and got sent back to the other judge. The other judge seen the case. She acted like she was going to act absolutely fine. Someone had a word with her. Next thing I get the 3-year ban, 150 hours community service, 37 hours RAR days, which is like rehabilitation days. I said, explain to me how you're going to rehabilitate me to stop me using medical cannabis. I was like, when that's what I'm prescribed. I said, I'm off every other prescribed drug that was prescribed me over the last 22 years. I was like, and I'm only on medical cannabis, and that's all I use daily now. My weight's gone from the 10 stone, 9 stone that it was when you put me on them tablets, to back to the 14, 15 stone that I was before I started using them tablets in my early 20s. Yeah. I'm back at my normal weight. I was like, my health has improved. My children get to enjoy quality of life from me that they've never seen before, all because of medical cannabis. And I got literally shafted by them. So probation said, and as soon as we went into the first meeting, probation was like, it's like they've set you up, you pissed someone off, they're upset with you. It is what it is, Michael, they've gone for you on this. So rather than appealing it and risking getting even longer, I'm just going to ride the 3-year, mate. And like I said, if it's a small sacrifice that I have to make to keep this open for another 10 years, I'll lose my licence every 3. They can take it again when I get my licence back. I couldn't give a shit, you know what I mean? Like, as long as we can keep operating and moving forward and giving people some sort of safety and some sort of an oasis away from all the fucking mentalness that's out there on the streets, I'll keep doing it. And like I said, I already fully accepted I was getting a 3-year ban with the way that the attitude was. So the sergeant wanted to lock me up, wanted me processing. The 2 officers that were with her, both of them said to me or my partner, we wouldn't be pursuing this if it was just us, Michael. I'm sorry. It was a higher up basically that I called that in. So they're just doing the job. And if I'd have given the swab, I would have got off with it probably in court, fighting it with my legal team. Or like obviously that I was.
This is what I'm so confused about. Is that, I mean, that is entirely
But in the same sense, my solicitor advised me that if I had given the swab, I would have still got banned because they were hell bent on giving me the 3-year ban. He said they would have gone down the route of saying that basically I was over the limit to drive anywhere and there's no prescribed medication limit currently. And so basically he was saying prosecution already had it all worked out to get me.
They just needed to catch it. It was how they were going to catch you. They already had the case in their head.
My camper van has a number plate on it, so it was pretty blatant it was me. But it's an ex-police van, and like I've still got it. It's still on the road. It's still in existence. I'm not driving it, but there's other drivers. And like I said, they can slow down the journey, but you're not going to stop it. You know what I mean? And like it's much bigger than me now. This club. The movement, everything is much bigger than me. You know, like if I dropped off the face of the planet tomorrow, I know it to continue. I know it to keep moving. Yeah, and that's the thing. You know, like the relationships that we've forged and the places that we've been invited to and the tables that we've sat at far outweigh a lot of the local level politicians and local level authorities that are making decisions. And I think that like the paper trail that we've got over the last decade backs up a lot of what we're saying, and we can present that evidence. The funding that we received during COVID from the council as an essential business, deeming us like, although they wouldn't term us essential, they certainly funded us to keep us open as essential and told us to do click and collect and whatnot. And so that paper trail and the evidence that we've got there paints a very different picture to the narrative that some people might try to paint currently. But like we said, there's they try to rewrite history all the time, don't they? They try and
100%, man. So I want to linger back on this point because you're trapped either way. Because if then the excuse that they've said is there is some form of they've engaged legislation, but in order for a conviction, they would need evidence. Then so it's the point is collusion. Basically, I remember standing in a room with a person I'm not going to name, a quite senior barrister, and their legal representation. I asked about the connection of the bar and their ability to defend their client, and was basically informed that the solicitor cannot go against the bar. They cannot challenge the law. So this is the reason why so many people are now going to litigate in person who are having quite a lot of success, is that basically even if you have a righteous defense, so the whole thing of now of the Traffic Act, the Road Traffic Act 1988, was updated in 2015. The reason they updated it in 2015, these numbers might be slightly off, was because cannabis driving offences were prosecution rate was around 73%. Within several months sort of afterwards, it was up to in the 90s. I think it rests at about 97% right about now. It's coming back down again because obviously we're starting to figure out holes in it. But basically the problem is that they moved cannabis from Section 4 into Section 5A. And what that meant is that detection meant impairment. So that's where they were trying to trap you under their old interpretation before like the change of the new laws of Schedule 2 under misuse of drugs regulations. So they've then basically stated that he's going to have it in him because he's got then his prescription. We're going to basically refuse the prescription as evidence, which means then if we run the case, you didn't have that evidence, wasn't accepted into the court case. So therefore, yeah, you've refused. So they've gone down the refuse thing. But
that's what the judge said. She was like, all we can do him on is the failure to provide.
And that's the insane thing, because like I said, under an interpretation of Schedule 2 Misuse of Drugs Regulations 2001, there is and has been accepted in several cases now across the UK with people standing litigate in person an argument that we do not have to be dealt with under Section 5A. We can be requested to be dealt with under Section 4, which means the police have to perform a field sobriety test on us to determine impairment. They cannot assume that
and that's the thing,
detection isn't impairment anymore. And like I say, yeah, they don't know the law, and it's the whole thing of because they put us in their rooms and they're dressed in their wigs and everything. It's that extra layer of pressure to go, yeah, I'm against the wall, but I'm also seeing the fucking gallows they're going to hang me with. And that's what forces us to that. And then when your helper turns to you and goes, this is the best thing for you, they've set us up entirely. It's like, you shouldn't be in that room. You should have never been detained that evening.
He said there's no way to win it. He didn't want to take the money for the trial. He didn't want to go to trial because he was like, they've already made an opinion, mate. They already decided you're guilty. I requested to take it to Crown Court. They refused to take it to Crown Court. They wanted to deal with it in magistrates. They didn't want me. Well, like, and it was just one of them things, like where they didn't want a fair trial. I took the BBC in, and it took for the BBC journalist to be sat in there for that judge who tried to say that they were going to jail me, that it was on record that she'd said she wasn't going to jail me. Do you know what I mean? It took for like the journalist to be there. They tried to say, even though we're in court because a judge previously hadn't put in his notes something so pivotal as to tell me, I told this guy not to give a swab in future if it happens again. But this time round, literally a week before, a judge failed to put in a note. I don't deem it as a jailable offence for him, no, like under the grounds of what he said. So a first judge looking at it was like, no, he's failed to provide, he's a prolific cannabis user, fuck him, do you know what I mean, jail him off.